Former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich makes sharp accusations against President Obama. Speaker Gingrich is accusing President Obama of failing to pay attention to the problem of African-American unemployment.
The point was made in your comments about it's better for black Americans to seek a job than it is to seek food stamps, and many people step forward to say, isn't that simply true for all Americans who are desperately looking for jobs? That's what they want.
Well,
not just black Americans.
It is true for all Americans. It's true for Native Americans. It's true for Asian Americans. True for Latino Americans. True for white Americans, and true for black Americans. The original statement, however, was in the context of saying I would love to be invited by the NAACP to come to their convention because the president has particularly failed to pay attention to the tremendous unemployment. We've had 43% black teenage unemployment. That is a disaster because it sets up a social pattern that's very hard for young people to go out and get jobs, get in the job market.
Is Speaker Gingrich right or wrong? Congressman Alan West joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you doing, Greta?
Very well. All right. Always a very touchy subject when we get into the issue of race in this country.
It shouldn't be touchy.
Well, I know, but it is. I mean, because it's like, you know, you want to make sure that you ask the right question in the right way. Okay. So having said that, let me ask you. Speaker Gingrich said that President Obama failed to pay attention to problems of black unemployment in this country. Is he right or is he wrong? And should it not be, divided along race lines that way?
Well, he is absolutely right. When you look at the statistics and the facts speak for themselves, the national average of unemployment right now is 8.5%. In the black community, it's 15.8%, and that's down from close to being 17%. For black adult males, it's 16.4% unemployment, and for black teenagers, 16 to 19 years of age, is 40.7%. As a matter of fact, the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus once said that if anyone else was in the White House other than President Obama, we'd be marching on the White House. So we do have a problem, and I think that we have a greater problem in the United States of America when we believe that only certain people can talk about certain issues. This is a big issue for all of America.
You mentioned that the current unemployment for African Americans is 15.8%. Also, as a frame of reference, on January 09, when President Obama took office, it was 12.6%. So it's a rise of 3.2%, at least according to the numbers. I'm curious, though, what could he do, or what should he be doing differently to address the particularly high unemployment rate in the African American community?
Well, I think that you need to look at what you could do differently for unemployment all across the United States of America. With the right type of tax policies that will incentivize growth, especially for our small businesses, and that will help in the inner city. You have to look at also the regulatory policies that can help those businesses to be able to thrive. You look at Dodd-Frank and the fact that a lot of our small community banks are not able to lend the proper monies that to start up small businesses, which is what I'm hearing down in my district. And then there are several other things that he could look at, how we can incentivize, other people to look at, black businesses and with, lower capital gains, taxes, and dividends returns, so that you can once again incentivize those things to happen. But we're not. I think it was pretty offensive when the president stood before the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation and told them to take off their bedroom slippers and put on their marching boots and get out there and work for him. Well, right now, we're not seeing a president that's working for that black community, which I think about 97% voted for him in 2008.
Is there any doubt, though, that 97% that voted for him in 2008 would ever come out and vote for a Speaker Gingrich or a Governor Romney or a Senator Santorum or Governor Perry? Even if he does nothing, he's going to get that vote.
Well,
any Democratic, you don't think that's true?
No, I would disagree, because there was a poll that came out, I believe it was the Washington Times or Washington Post last September, that said that the strongly approved number in the black community that was once 83% had dropped down to 58%. As a matter of fact, next week, Monday, we're going to have a black conservative forum in the Capitol, and I think that now is the time to start looking at the difference between who we are as conservatives and what the liberal social welfare policies have done for the black community has failed. We as conservatives believe that every child in America, or any person coming to America, gets a ladder, and with that ladder they can climb to whatever heights of achievement. But we also believe there should be a safety net, because you're going to slip off and you need to be able to bounce back up. But I think what we're seeing is a sense of dependency. Instead of that safety net, you get a hammock.
You know, I did poverty law for a number of years before I got into TV, and I guess that there were many people who had hoped that President Obama would be an inspiration to some in the African American community who really have been down and out or haven't had a shot or haven't had a chance or anything. You know, really need it because, you know, everybody needs to do well. Has he been an inspiration? I mean, is it unfair to expect him to be an inspiration to those, number one? And number two, has he provided that inspiration? He certainly did when he, when he was running.
Well, I think that rhetoric is different from providing inspirational leadership and visionary leadership. I've seen in my military career many a guy that can come in and talk a good game, but as we say in the military, if you're going to talk the talk, you got to be able to walk the walk. And when you look at the fact that you've seen a 41% increase in food stamp recipients, you've seen a 16% increase of Americans on the poverty rolls, 6.4 million more Americans. That's a failure. And I think that that's something where the president has to sit back and look at his policies. And I think that everyone has a right, being it a Speaker Gingrich or yourself or anyone else, to say that there's something wrong. You look across Washington, D.C. at some of these inner city communities. You know, we shouldn't have these type of things happening within eye shot of the White House.
Congressman, always nice to see you.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
The American people create jobs, not government.
Would you reappoint Ben Bernanke?
I would fire him tomorrow. I think the Fed should be audited. I'm not particularly worried about Governor Perry and Governor Romney frightening the American people when President Obama scares them every single day. When I was Speaker, we added 11 million jobs in a bipartisan effort, including welfare reform, the largest capital gain tax cut in history. We balanced the budget for 4 straight years. How would the country feel today at 4.2% unemployment? That's my credential. I'm going to outline a 21st century contract with America. It's going to be far bolder, far deeper, far more profound than what we did in 1994 or what I helped Jack Kemp and Ronald Reagan do in 1980. I am very much in favor of school choice. My personal preference would be to have a Pell Grant for K through 12 so that every parent could pick with their child any school they wanted to send them to. I think unemployment compensation should be tied directly to a training program so that 99 weeks becomes an investment in human capital, giving us the best trained workforce in the world. But I believe it is fundamentally wrong to give people money for 99 weeks for doing nothing. The Congress this year, this next week, ought to repeal the Dodd-Frank bill. They ought to repeal the Sarbanes-Oxley bill. They ought to start creating jobs right now, because for those 14 million Americans, this is a depression now. Well, I'm frankly not interested in your effort to get Republicans fighting each other. I, for one, and I hope all of my friends up here, are going to repudiate every effort of the news media to get Republicans to fight each other to protect Barack Obama, who deserves to be defeated, and all of us are committed as a team. Whoever the nominee is, we are all for defeating Barack Obama. Nothing will turn America around more than election night when Barack Obama loses decisively.